everybody. I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again, I'm here with Chandra with Aran and Franklin Engineering, who's also on the TWIA board. And, you know, over the last month now, we've been talking about what's going on with TWIA, the price hike as far as the rate increase that they're trying to push through. But TWIA is not just about that. They also make suggestions to help the end user. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I don't know all the stipulations, so I'm going to hand it over to Chandra. But I do know every year they take 7 of their top thoughts or the most important and suggest it to what, the insurance board or the
so this is called the biennial report to the legislature. So basically right before we go into legislative session, so every other year, TWIA our legislative and external affairs committee will get together and try to figure out what things we feel are important that the legislature work on, and then we will submit this report to the Commissioner of Insurance, and these are things that we feel like need legislative action in the upcoming session. So we try to do that early enough in the year. So we're going in August, they're going back in January, so it gives them a little bit of time to try to start working on some of these things. But we start with a big list. They start with a big list, and the committee whittles it down to the ones they feel like are the most topical, have teeth, and really need to be addressed. Because we explore a lot of different topics. I think we had like 25 or 30 topics, and we narrowed it down to 7 this year.
Is it always 7 topics?
It's not always 7. It does vary. It depends on what's, really, important at the time. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 5. It just kind of depends on what's really topical. But this year there's 7. And so
let's talk about some of the top ones.
Yeah, so there's 3 that really I think are most important to consumers that you need to know about. One of them, the 5th one that we did was called premium financing. So back in the day, when people were writing that check every year for their TWIA insurance, if they could not write the full 100% premium, they had to go, their insurance company would help them get some kind of premium financing so they could pay it out over time. But of course, that had an interest implication. And in the last couple of years, TWIA has updated their system to where they started off being able to take a 2-pay, and then they started taking a 4-pay, and now they can do a 10-pay. So there's really no need for premium financing. There's a few people that still are using it. Some agents are still pushing it. And a lot of times it's because they've kind of wrapped the whole thing into a package, and they didn't really think about, I could pluck out the TWIA and let them pay that separately and not be charged for it. But just so people are aware that if they are paying their TWIA policy not directly to TWIA, and they are utilizing some premium financing, they're recommending that completely go away and that not be allowed anymore, so that you as a consumer aren't paying that interest. And I think that's just the right thing to do.
It saves you interest.
Yeah, it saves you interest. It's just the right thing to do. It saves people money. They're already paying for it, and TWIA is offering that 10-pay for no charge. So that's a good thing. The other thing that the number 3 item that we had on there was the fortified home construction. And so they were wanting to consider the feasibility and possible public funding of fortified home construction or other mitigation programs. So, whether that was build new fortified or mitigate your roof fortified, does that look like, having a grant program to, if we have a storm, put your roofs back to a fortified nature, so maybe you'll get plucked out of TWIA? Does that look like giving a discount for fortified construction so that you get plucked out of TWIA and put into private insurance? Because that's really the only way for it to happen right now. Is fortified is really the only way you'll get plucked out of TWIA, unless you're real far inland and super low risk. So I think that's a really good option. Fortified is definitely very well recognized. There's a companion program, a FEMA companion program that's basically the fortified standard. It's just not labeled fortified, but you don't get a certificate, so you don't get all the benefits. I thought I was moving enough. You don't get all the benefits of being the certificate and being designated as a fortified home, so you don't get plucked out of the wind pool. You just have the peace of mind. Okay. So I think that one's a really good one as well. And then the last one that's really important, which we've been talking about, of course, is the reinsurance funding, providing options to reduce the association's reliance on reinsurance, because that's one of the big reasons that they're wanting this rate increase. I mean, our reinsurance was so high this year. You know, the amount of reinsurance we had to purchase to get enough to cover the PML and to cover the amounts that we had, you know, the legislature had designated that we choose a PML and that we have to fund to a PML. And if we don't have money in our funding structure, we have to buy reinsurance. And so we have bought a lot of reinsurance, $298 million worth of reinsurance this year, which is ridiculous, and is the premium. And so all that money has to come from somewhere. So changing the funding structure would change the way we rely on reinsurance funding and really help keep those rates at a much more manageable level. So I think those are the three things that really stand out to me, and that would affect consumers. A lot of the other stuff's like, you know, paperwork issues, how they classify stuff, and that doesn't really affect the direct consumer. And I think those are the three that probably really affect the direct consumer.
Let me ask you this: when y'all submit this in, how many of them actually produce a change in whatever
we have seen changes? And the problem is that we have to get somebody. So we have these great ideas, we have these great initiatives. We have to get a legislator to pick it up, write a bill, and get behind it. Okay. And so that's the problem, is that, you know, we're sending this to the Commissioner of Insurance and saying, hey, you know, do you agree with what we're recommending? Can you as the commissioner stand behind this report and say, yes, we want to push this initiative? And if she is in agreement, then, you know, that gives a little bit more weight to somebody to want to pick it up. So I think we'll see some of these for sure picked up, and move forward. But, you know, the legislative process is slow. You know, we meet every other year. We have to have all this research done, you know, to write everything up. You have to lobby to get support, and you have to educate so many people about why it's important. Like I said, especially as they're not a coastal person, so they don't maybe understand it. So, and why it's important. So you get somebody from Midland and they're like, I don't know why this funding matters. I mean, but you need to educate them so that they can vote with you and be supportive of these initiatives, because it does take a majority to move it to the Senate and then, of course, move it to the governor. So it is a process. And a lot of times these bills will start off one year, get no traction. Then they'll start, you know, the next time they'll pick them up, change them a little bit, and they'll get a little bit more traction. And so sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 cycles, you know, to make it all the way through, but you've got to start somewhere. So this is where we're starting this year with our recommendations. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's just part of the process, and it really helps the legislators know what matters to the people. And, you know, hopefully, you know, we can impart, you know, the importance of some of these things, and they'll pick them up and move the ball forward. So. Great.
Well, we're here on the first week of September. And, you know, we've been following this TWIA and talking about TWIA for several months now. And we're going to keep y'all informed in what's going on. And sometimes we have to swap some shows around because something happens, and, you know, we may pre-record one a week or 2 weeks ahead. But we are going to keep you informed on what's happening. And, you know, this show plays every Friday, I believe, afternoon or at 11 o'clock. And so, you know, you can see it on our YouTube channel. You can see it on social media or Facebook. Share it with your friends, or at least let them know, because this is something everyone and what we talked about in the show before. This affects people in Dallas and Austin and East Texas, because it affects the coast, and a lot of people like to come down here. Either they have a second home here, they want to retire here, and that's what we're seeing a lot of, is retired people coming down, and now they're looking for odds and end jobs around because insurance has gone up, and you know, investments have gone down, and so this affects everyone, and so we're going to keep you informed. Chandra, thanks for your mornings of doing this and keeping up with everything that's going on, because I really think some of the comments we're getting and some of the people I'm talking to here, they've started really paying attention to the insurance, because it keeps on, and before they know it, they're going to be paying double what their house cost them on
I know.
stuff. And so
It's a lot.
we're going to work on keeping you informed, letting you know what you can do to help keep the cost down. Our representatives are fighting for us. Everyone's fighting for us, and so we'll let you know what you can do. Chandra, thanks for joining us, and I can't wait to see what the next show has. It seems like something pops up every time we talk on what we're going to do the show on. Something pops up. Well, I saw this or I heard this. So, but until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live with Chandra with Aran and Franklin Engineering. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.